everybody. I'm so glad that you joined me again. So today I'm going to be talking about my theme song, and it was written by my friend Suze Grandy. She wrote Grandma's Ring, and it is everything to me. She talks about the stuff of life, but just writing and performing the song, oh my goodness. And the two gentlemen that were playing harp in the background, why, that was Charlie Chapman and Tom Walsh were accompanying her, and she was singing and playing guitar. We have so many similar things in life, and that's why I realized that a lot of people have these same similar things. Recently, I put together an assemblage of the stuff from the bottoms of drawers and jewelry boxes from one family. And in that stuff was all kinds of interesting things. There were religious medals from a number of different religions. There were service organization pins. There was work-related pins and items. Well, let's see now. There was service organizations, volunteer programs, tokens of affection, sweet little things, things to remind people to do better. So I put all of these things together, and it is my nod to radical inclusion. In this case, I'm explaining how families are made up of all different aspects of being and thoughts and interests. Why, in one family, you see, you can get several religions, you can get several ideas, backgrounds, opinions, but it's very important to remember that we are not homogeneous. We are not all the same person, but we are all people, and that is the thing that brings us all together. So with that, I'm going to present Radical Inclusion. This is the picture that has all of those things in it. Canadian Army Service Corps, that's the hospital ship. Merchant Marine pin, a 1924 French coin, 1924 Swiss coin, Army Quartermaster Corps pin, World War I Allied Forces pin, French Navy pin, Hurricane Relief for Tulsa, a Cub Scouts pin, Girl Scouts pin, several PTA Life member pins, Army and Navy World War II pin, a Gumshoe Detective pin, a Benedictine Religious Medal, Traveler's Insurance Identification pin, Shriners, Aerospace Engineers, 1960s Catholic Daughters Organization, Eastern Star, Art to Trench World War I knife, Red Cross pins, a Women's Heart Health, Breast Cancer Awareness Red Dress, National Park Service, an engagement ring with tape still wrapped around the back. Obviously, the person didn't care enough to have it sized. A trade bead, and a little plastic lamb. That little plastic lamb was in my grandmother's change purse forever. She called me Pet Lamb Jewel. The things of life are often given as mementos at events. They can be from trade shows, in this case from rendezvous. These are historic gatherings and reenactments. These medallions that I'm going to be showing represent 32 years of travel and campfires and camaraderie with some of the best people ever. And I've enjoyed myself for many years. Some of the medallions you'll see are tied together with a string. Those are ones that my son went with me to those. One particular rendezvous that he went to with me, this was in 1995. I had taught him how to throw tomahawk and knife, and he did a pretty good job. At this Eastern rendezvous, Bill Decker, the bushway, quietly cheered my son on, while the Castlewego riflemen turned out daily to watch a boy whose mom taught him how to throw a tomahawk and knife compete. And he won. What a wonderful thing that was. He was so very happy. And he couldn't wait to get back home to tell his grandfather that he won. In fathoming my own jewelry box, I found quite a few really special things. Amongst them, I found a patch from a winter regatta that I sailed in. That was really neat. I found a wedding portrait from my grandmother and grandfather. I found a portrait of my paternal grandmother from Ireland, and a bracelet that was mine when I was a baby, and a ring from when I was a baby, and something else. And amongst that stuff is an owl. It's made out of clay. This owl was made by an artist, Medes Greneff. He worked at Eastman Kodak as a senior research chemist. He was my father's mentor. When they were beginning to build and clear the land to build the new research building in Rochester, New York, Mr. Medes, that's what I called him, Mr. Medes, saw the dirt that they were digging up and saw that it was clay. And so he went over and asked one of the bulldozer guys if he could get some of the clay. And the guy says, well, okay, but be careful. So Mr. Medes got a piece of the clay, took it home with him, got it all prepared, and made a nice coffee cup and took it back to the work site the next week. And he gave it to the bulldozer driver and said, you do have some good clay here. Well, that bulldozer driver said, well, how much do you want? And Mr. Medes said, well, how much can you give me? And the guy says, well, can you take a dump truck full? And so they had a dump truck filled up with clay taken to Mr. Medes' house. He had an old cellar foundation. They dumped the clay into the cellar, and he worked out of that for years. And that's the little owl that I had. He was such an interesting man. They never had children, but every year he would plant a pumpkin patch, and he would do something special in the pumpkins so that as they grew, your name would be on it. So I always got to look for the Missy pumpkin. That was pretty special. So special is special, and we really are all made out of our stuff, our pasts, a bit of stardust, and some water. Now to finish the story. My son won the tent at the 95 Eastern Primitive Rendezvous. We had to drive back to Virginia very quickly because we got word that my father was in the hospital and not doing very well. So we drove as fast as we could, the 11 hours from New York back to Virginia. And my father was in intensive care and in a coma at that time. And William was saying, but Papa, you have to wake up. I have something to tell you. And the nurse came in the room and said, son, you tell your grandpa what you have to tell him. And William stood there and told Papa about how he won the tomahawk and how all the guys came and watched and how his mom taught him better than anybody else. And it was so good and he was so proud. And my father crossed over shortly after that. My son has joined his grandpa. So there we go. We're all made up of stardust, our pasts, and special stuff.
Things passed on, things passed down. Quiet gifts and treasures, folk no longer around. Only the glow of memory remains as the living out their lives. They have gathered treasures in their passing through, handed them on down to folks like me and you. Precious keepsakes, tradition wrapped in memory tied. They have honored places in our family pride, saved and savored, protected from the hounds, storms and wars and apathy. We kept them safe and sound. Things passed on, things passed down. Quiet gifts and treasures, folk no longer around. Only the glow of memory remains as the changes of time roll on again. Handmade linens for cherished holidays, oil lamp on the bookshelf, heard my papa's grace. The coffee pot there on the stove was new in 32. I hope it pours for my son when my life is through. Willow ware, Grandma's pride and her joy. The marbles in that coffee can were Dad's when he was a boy. The photographs of soldiers and medals shining clean come from a time of deep despair in the shadow of the war machine. Things passed on, things passed down. Quiet gifts and treasures, folk no longer around. Only the glow of memory remains as the changes of time roll on again. Golden earrings worn on my wedding day. I never met the lady who gifted them my way. My great-grandmother twice removed, she'd lost her baby son at the vicious battle of Petersburg, the war that Lincoln won. Our cracker home, cradles, gifts, and faith passed down. I use the things bequeathed to me and keep the memories round. And when I see my mama's ring sparkling on my hand, I can travel back in time on the path within the band. Things passed on, things passed down. Quiet gifts and treasures, folk no longer around. Only the glow of memory remains as the changes of time roll on again.
And remember, if you liked this, please check like and subscribe if you will. I do believe in the long run that's going to help somehow. And remember, only the glow of memories remain as the changes of time roll on again.